My name is Margaret. I am 68 years old, and originally from a quaint little town in Oregon, though I've called the bustling suburbs of Portland home for the better part of 40 years now. You see, I've always been the sort of person who finds immense joy in the simple act of bringing people together, especially when it involves good food and even better company. My family, my children David and Susan, and my wonderful grandchildren Emily, Olivia, and James, are the absolute center of my universe. Nothing warms my heart more than seeing their faces light up, hearing their laughter echo around me. So, as my 68th birthday approached, I decided I wanted to make it an evening to remember, a truly special occasion where we could all gather, share a meal, and just simply be together. I spent weeks meticulously planning every single detail. This wasn't just any birthday dinner. This was a celebration of family, of love, of the ties that bind us through thick and thin. I wanted it to be perfect, a night where every single person felt cherished and seen. I started by booking a table at the Willamette Table, a lovely upscale restaurant downtown that had just opened and was getting rave reviews for its farm-to-table cuisine and cozy, intimate atmosphere. It was a bit of a splurge, but for my family for this night, I truly felt it was worth every penny. I envisioned us all around a large, beautifully set table, the soft glow of the candlelight reflecting in their happy eyes. Next, I meticulously went through my mental Rolodex of everyone's favorite dishes. David, my son, has always been a fan of a good, perfectly seared steak, so I made sure to note that to the restaurant manager when I called to confirm the reservation. Susan, my daughter, prefers something lighter, perhaps a delicate salmon, and the grandchildren, bless their hearts, are a mix. Emily loves anything with pasta. Olivia is a bit more adventurous and enjoys trying new things, and James, well, James is all about the desserts. I wanted to ensure there was something for everyone, a culinary reflection of my love for each of them. I even called the restaurant back a second time to specifically request a few of their signature desserts be set aside for us. The invitations were sent out with such care, each one a little piece of my heart. I used those lovely, thick cardstock invitations with a delicate floral design I'd picked up from a local stationery shop. I hand-addressed each envelope, my cursive flowing easily, thinking of the smile that would grace their faces when they received it. The date was set for a Friday evening, knowing that Fridays were generally easier for everyone to get away after a long week. I gave them ample notice, nearly 3 weeks, to make sure there were no scheduling conflicts. I even followed up with a few text messages, just a gentle reminder, full of excitement about our upcoming gathering. Can't wait to celebrate with you all. I typed a little emoji of a cake at the end. The responses were quick and enthusiastic, confirming their attendance, cementing the joy I felt. The day of the dinner arrived, and I woke up with a bounce in my step, a lightness in my heart I hadn't felt in a long time. I spent the morning running a few errands, picked up a fresh bouquet of white lilies for the table. Even though the restaurant would have flowers, I wanted to bring my own personal touch. I got my hair done at my favorite salon, a little treat for myself, and then spent a leisurely hour picking out my outfit. I settled on a deep sapphire blue dress, one that always made me feel elegant and a little bit glamorous. It was a special occasion after all, and I wanted to look my best. I even put on a touch of my favorite perfume, a subtle floral scent that always reminded me of spring. I arrived at the Willamette Table, promptly at 7 p.m., a full 15 minutes before our reservation, just to make sure everything was perfect. The restaurant was bustling, a warm hum of conversation filling the air, the clinking of silverware against plates creating a comforting symphony. The maitre d', a charming young man with a polite smile, greeted me warmly and led me to our table. It was exactly as I had envisioned. A large, elegant table set for 12, tucked away in a quiet corner, offering a perfect view of the city lights shimmering through the large windows. The white linen tablecloth gleamed under the soft overhead lighting, and delicate floral arrangements adorned the center. My lilies would complement them beautifully. I sat down, my heart full of anticipation, a wide smile on my face. I watched the door, expecting to see a familiar face, a wave, a hug. 7:15 p.m. came and went. Then 7:30 p.m. I checked my watch, then my phone, just to make sure I hadn't mixed up the time or perhaps the date. No, everything was correct. I ordered a glass of white wine, a crisp Chardonnay, just to sip on while I waited, trying to quell the tiny flicker of unease that was beginning to stir within me. The maitre d' came over, polite and apologetic, asking if I wanted to go ahead and order. No, I replied. My family should be here any minute now. I tried to sound confident, but a knot was forming in my stomach. I straightened my dress, smoothed down my hair, trying to maintain an air of composure. The minutes ticked by, each one feeling like an hour. The restaurant continued to fill up around me, laughter and lively conversations surrounding my solitary table. I watched families and friends arrive, greeting each other with hugs and smiles, their joy so palpable it almost felt like a physical thing. My smile began to falter, replaced by a growing sense of confusion, then a dull ache. 7:45 p.m. 8 p.m. The maitre d' returned, his expression now laced with a hint of concern. Mrs. Harrison, are you quite sure about your reservation time? He asked gently. Yes, positive, I whispered, my voice barely audible. The wine in my glass remained untouched. The lilies on the table seemed to mock me with their bright, cheerful presence. The ache in my stomach intensified, spreading through my chest, constricting my breath. The reality was beginning to set in. The hum of the restaurant, once a comforting backdrop, now felt like a cruel symphony, each burst of laughter and clink of cutlery amplifying the deafening silence at my own table. The elegant setting which I had so carefully chosen, now seemed to mock my solitude. I picked at a breadstick, crumbling it between my fingers, the crumbs accumulating on the pristine white tablecloth like little accusations. My phone, which had been buzzing with cheerful messages and confirmations just days ago, now lay silent beside my plate, a dark, unresponsive rectangle. I scrolled through my recent calls, just in case I had missed something, a text, a voice message, anything. Nothing. Not a single word from David, Susan, or any of the grandchildren. A wave of humiliation washed over me, hot and stinging. Had I misremembered? Had I been so incredibly self-absorbed that I had somehow conjured this entire evening in my mind? No, I knew I hadn't. The invitations, the confirmations, the excitement. It had all been real. So why? Why was I sitting here, utterly alone, on my 68th birthday? The initial confusion slowly gave way to a dull, aching hurt that settled deep in my chest. It felt like a physical weight, pressing down on my lungs, making it hard to breathe. I took a shaky sip of water, trying to compose myself, trying to push back the tears that were starting to well up in my eyes. I didn't want to make a scene. I was Margaret Harrison, a woman who prided herself on her composure, her resilience. But the composure was crumbling, brick by painstaking brick. I looked around the restaurant, trying to avoid eye contact with the sympathetic glances I felt directed my way from the staff. A young couple at a nearby table, probably in their late 20s, were leaning in close, whispering and laughing, their hands intertwined. A family with 3 boisterous children were celebrating what looked like an anniversary, the kids playfully pulling on their parents' sleeves, their faces smeared with cake. Every happy tableau around me served as a stark, painful contrast to my own desolate situation. The silence at my table was deafening, amplified by the lively chatter and warmth radiating from every other corner of the room. My mind started to race, trying to rationalize, trying to find an explanation, any explanation for their absence. Had there been an emergency? A sudden, urgent crisis that had pulled them all away at the last minute. But surely one of them, just one, would have sent a quick text, a hurried call. Grandma, so sorry, something's come up. Even that would have been a comfort, a lifeline in this sea of isolation. But there was nothing, just this profound, empty silence. And with each passing minute, the rationalizations began to crumble, replaced by a darker, more painful thought. Perhaps they just didn't care enough. The idea was a bitter pill to swallow. Had I become a burden? Had I somehow pushed them away without realizing it? I had always tried to be supportive, to be there for them, to offer a listening ear or a helping hand whenever they needed it. I thought we had a strong bond, a loving family that cherished each other. Was I wrong? Was this a harsh awakening to a truth I had been too blind, too optimistic to see. The tears, which I had been valiantly trying to hold back, finally began to fall. Slowly at first, just a trickle, then a steady stream tracing warm paths down my cheeks. They landed silently on my sapphire blue dress, dark spots appearing against the elegant fabric, each one a tiny monument to my heartbreak. I tried to eat, truly I did. The waiter, a kind young man with an empathetic gaze, eventually came to take my order, his voice softer than before. I chose the salmon, my daughter Susan's favorite, not because I truly wanted it, but because I felt obligated to order something after sitting there for so long. Each bite felt like sawdust in my mouth, tasteless, joyless. The carefully prepared dish, which had once sounded so appetizing, now offered no comfort. My vision blurred through the unshed tears, and I had to blink hard to clear it, just enough to see my plate. The salmon, the vibrant green asparagus, the delicate sauce. It all looked so beautiful, so wasteful, knowing it was only for me. The weight in my chest grew heavier with every forkful, each mouthful a testament to my crushing disappointment. I imagined what they might be doing instead. Were they together, somewhere else, having their own dinner, perhaps forgetting all about me? The thought was a dagger to my heart. It was a selfish thought, I knew, but in that moment of raw vulnerability, it was hard to banish. I tried to push it away, to cling to the hope that there was a valid, understandable reason for their absence. But the lack of communication, the complete radio silence, made it impossible to hold on to that hope for very long. It felt like I was drifting in an empty ocean, with no land in sight, and no one reaching out a hand. I finished a fraction of my meal, the rest sitting cold and untouched on the plate. The lilies I had brought, so bright and full of life just hours ago, now seemed to droop slightly, their white petals a stark contrast to the deep blue of my dress. I felt an overwhelming urge to just leave, to escape this public display of my humiliation and pain, to go home, crawl into bed, and simply disappear for a while. The thought of facing the empty house, the quiet rooms, was daunting, but it felt less painful than remaining here, a silent spectacle of abandonment. I reached for my purse, my hand trembling slightly as I fumbled for my wallet. My resolve was hardening. I would pay the bill, leave a generous tip for the kind waiter, and make my quiet exit. I was just about to signal for the check, my heart heavy with resignation, when I heard a familiar voice call my name timidly from the entrance of the restaurant. My heart, already a fragile thing, lurched when I heard my name. It was a familiar voice, one I dearly loved, but in that moment, it only added to my confusion. I slowly lifted my head, my eyes still blurred with unshed tears, and turned towards the restaurant's entrance. Standing there, silhouetted against the ambient glow of the foyer, was my granddaughter, Emily. She looked a little out of breath, her usually neat brown hair slightly disheveled, as if she'd been rushing. In her hand, clutched tightly, was a cream-colored envelope. She wasn't carrying balloons or gifts like the other joyful people who entered the restaurant. Just that single, seemingly ordinary envelope. A flicker of hope, tiny but persistent, ignited within me. Why was she here? Alone. My initial instinct was to chastise her gently for being so late, but the sight of her face, a mixture of concern and relief, silenced any words of reprimand. She saw me then, truly saw me, sitting there at the large empty table, my plate barely touched, my eyes red-rimmed. Her brow furrowed with immediate worry, and she hurried towards me, her steps quick and light. "Grandma! Oh my goodness, Grandma, are you okay?" she exclaimed, her voice laced with genuine alarm as she reached my table. She slid into the seat directly across from me, her eyes scanning my face, her concern palpable. "We've been trying to reach you. We thought you knew." "Oh, Grandma, I'm so sorry." Her apology was sincere, and the sheer relief in her voice was like a soothing balm on my raw nerves. "Knew what, Emily?" I asked, my voice hoarse, a slight tremor in my words. "Knew what?" The pain was still there, a dull throb, but her presence, her earnest worry, had begun to chip away at the despair. She pushed the cream envelope across the table towards me. "Here, Grandma. You must not have gotten the message." Mom thought you'd seen the email, or maybe James told you. We've been trying to call all afternoon. Her words tumbled out in a rush, a clear indication of her own stress. My fingers, still slightly shaky, reached for the envelope. It felt surprisingly thick, and the paper had a rich, textured feel. My name, Margaret Harrison, was written on the front in elegant cursive. Not Emily's handwriting, but definitely familiar. I tore it open carefully, my heart pounding a little faster now. Inside there wasn't just a letter. There was also a folded family photograph. I pulled out the photograph first. It was a recent one, taken just last summer during our annual family barbecue in the backyard. Everyone was there. David, Sarah, Susan, Michael, and all my beautiful grandchildren, Emily, Olivia, and James. We were all laughing, squeezed together on a picnic bench, my arms around Emily and James, my head resting on Olivia's shoulder. We looked so happy, so connected. Seeing it brought a fresh wave of emotion, but this time it was mixed with warmth, not just sorrow. This was my family, my beloved family. Then, I unfolded the handwritten letter. The handwriting was neat, clear, and unmistakably Susan's, my daughter. As I started to read, the words blurred slightly through the lingering wetness in my eyes, but I forced myself to focus. "Dearest Mom," it began, "surprise. Well, we hope it's a surprise by now. We are so incredibly sorry if you're reading this at the Willamette table alone. That was absolutely not the plan." My breath hitched. Not the plan. A small, almost imperceptible shift occurred within me, a tiny crack appearing in the wall of despair I had built around myself. I continued to read, the words on the page slowly but surely unraveling the mystery of the evening. "We've been secretly planning a surprise party for you for weeks, Mom. A real party with all your friends and extended family, not just us. We wanted to make your 68th birthday truly special, a big celebration. David found this amazing event space, the Oregon Hearth, just a few miles from the restaurant, and it's perfect. We thought it would be easier for everyone to gather there, and it allowed us to invite so many more people who love you. Surprise party." My family, all this time, had been planning a surprise party. The realization hit me like a gentle wave, washing over the sharp edges of my pain. "The original plan was for us to meet you at the Willamette table," the letter continued. "Have a quick drink and then surprise you by taking you to the real party. But then David had the brilliant idea that it would be even more of a surprise if you just arrived at the party directly. We sent out an updated message, an email and a group text, with the new instructions, telling everyone to meet us directly at the Oregon Hearth at 7:30 p.m., assuming you'd get the update too." An updated message, an email, a group text. My mind raced back over the past few weeks. I rarely checked my personal email, using it mostly for online shopping receipts. And group texts. I often muted them or just skimmed through them, sometimes missing key information amidst the flurry of emojis and quick comments. The puzzle pieces were beginning to click into place, forming a picture that was far less bleak than the one I had painted in my despair. "We are so sorry, Mom, if this caused any confusion or upset," the letter continued, the genuine remorse evident in Susan's neat handwriting. "We've been trying to call your home phone and cell all evening, but we couldn't get through. Emily just decided to brave it and come find you, just in case you were still at the restaurant. We're all waiting for you at the Oregon Hearth. Now, just around the corner. Everyone is there, all your friends, the Johnsons, the Millers, even Aunt Carol flew in. We have balloons, a cake, and so many presents. Please come over. We love you so much." The letter ended with a cascade of XS and OS, signed by David, Susan, Sarah, Michael, and all the grandchildren. My eyes scanned the words again, taking in every detail. Surprise party. All my friends. Aunt Carol, who lived across the country, had flown in. It wasn't neglect. It wasn't abandonment. It was a simple, incredibly unfortunate miscommunication. A cascade of relief, so profound it was almost dizzying, washed over me. The knot in my stomach began to loosen, the weight in my chest lifted, and the tears, which had been tears of sorrow, now transformed into tears of overwhelming joy and profound, humbling understanding. I looked at Emily, who was watching me with wide, anxious eyes. "Oh, Emily," I choked out, a watery laugh escaping me. "You have no idea." Emily smiled, a watery, relieved grin mirroring my own. "Oh, Grandma," she repeated, her voice thick with emotion. "We were so worried. David and Susan were about to send out a search party." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand, a gesture that spoke volumes. The warmth of her touch, the sheer relief flooding through me, felt like coming home after a long, lonely journey. The earlier pain began to recede, replaced by a bubbling excitement that was almost overwhelming. "The Oregon Hearth," I murmured, the name of the event space from the letter echoing in my mind. "And Aunt Carol. She's here." My voice was still a little shaky, but now it was from sheer joy, not sorrow. It was hard to believe just how quickly my emotions had swung from the depths of despair to this sudden, unexpected euphoria. The contrast was almost comical, if it hadn't been so utterly heart-wrenching just moments before. "Yes, everyone's there, Grandma," Emily confirmed, her eyes shining. "They've been waiting for ages, wondering where you were. We just couldn't figure out why you weren't answering your phone. We even tried calling the restaurant directly, but they said they couldn't give out information about guests." She paused, then added, a mischievous glint in her eye. "And Aunt Carol is practically vibrating with excitement to see you." I finally pushed away my untouched plate, the forgotten salmon no longer a symbol of my heartache but just food. "Well, what are we waiting for?" I asked, a newfound energy coursing through me. "Let's go." I can't believe I almost missed my own surprise party. A genuine laugh, the first one in hours, bubbled up from deep within me, light and freeing. Emily jumped up, pulling out my chair with a flourish. "Come on, Grandma. They're going to be so happy to see you." As we walked towards the entrance of the Willamette table, I felt a distinct shift in the atmosphere. The sympathetic glances from the staff now seemed to turn into knowing smiles. The maitre d', who had looked so concerned earlier, gave me a polite nod and a discreet wink as I passed. It was as if they had been privy to the whole miscommunication and were now silently celebrating my sudden change in fortune. I felt a blush creep up my cheeks, half from embarrassment at my public display of emotion, and half from the sheer delight of knowing what awaited me. We stepped out of the restaurant into the cool evening air. Emily hailed a quick rideshare, and within minutes we were on our way. The short drive to the Oregon Hearth felt like an eternity. Every turn of the wheel, every passing street lamp, built the anticipation. I kept glancing at Emily, a silent conversation passing between us through our smiles and shared glances. The memory of sitting alone, heartbroken, still lingered, a faint echo, but it was rapidly being overshadowed by the vibrant reality of what was to come. The Oregon Hearth was a beautiful rustic chic event space, nestled among some old industrial buildings that had been lovingly renovated. As our car pulled up, I could see lights streaming from its large windows, and I could already hear a faint murmur of voices, punctuated by occasional bursts of laughter. Emily grinned at me. "Ready," she whispered, her eyes twinkling. My heart hammered against my ribs, a joyful drumbeat. "Ready as I'll ever be." We walked up to the entrance, a large, heavy wooden door. Emily pushed it open just enough for us to slip inside. The moment we stepped through the threshold, the murmur turned into a roar. Surprise! The room erupted. Balloons in various shades of blue and silver floated towards the ceiling, streamers draped elegantly, and a huge banner declared, "Happy 68th birthday, Margaret." The air was thick with the scent of delicious food and the sweet aroma of cake. And then I saw them. Everyone. My son David, his arm around his wife Sarah, both beaming. My daughter Susan, wiping tears from her eyes, her husband Michael beside her, a wide smile on his face. My other grandchildren, Olivia and James, rushing forward, their faces alight with excitement. And then there was Aunt Carol, her arms already outstretched, a joyous cry escaping her lips as she started towards me. For a moment I just stood there, completely overwhelmed, a flood of emotion washing over me. The stark contrast between the previous hours of desolate loneliness and this explosion of love and warmth was almost too much to bear. Tears, hot and abundant, streamed down my face once more, but these were tears of pure, unadulterated happiness. "Mom! Oh my goodness, Mom!" David exclaimed, wrapping me in a bear hug so tight it almost squeezed the breath out of me. "We were so worried. Emily told us you were still at the restaurant. Are you okay? Grandma, we're so sorry." Susan cried, her eyes as red as mine, pulling me into her embrace as soon as David released me. "The message. We thought you got the message." I didn't," I managed to say, my voice thick with emotion as I hugged them all back one by one. "I didn't get the updated message. I was there all alone at the Willamette table, thinking you'd all forgotten me." My voice cracked on the last words, and a fresh wave of tears flowed. Their faces crumpled with immediate, genuine remorse. Sarah and Michael both stepped forward, their apologies tumbling out simultaneously. "Oh, Margaret, no. We would never. We're so sorry that happened to you," Sarah exclaimed, her hand flying to her mouth in dismay. "We feel terrible." Olivia and James, my sweet grandchildren, joined the chorus of apologies, their young faces mirroring the adults' distress. "Grandma, we thought you knew," James said, his voice small. Olivia gave me a fierce hug. It was in that moment, surrounded by their love, their earnest apologies, and their palpable relief at finally seeing me, that the last vestiges of hurt completely dissolved. It wasn't neglect. It wasn't that they didn't care. It was simply a miscommunication, a technological hiccup that had led to a truly unfortunate misunderstanding. And seeing their faces, knowing their intentions, brought an overwhelming sense of peace and gratitude. The apologies flowed freely, a balm to my heart. "We just feel so terrible, Mom," Sarah said, pulling me into a warm embrace. "The thought of you sitting there alone. It breaks my heart." "It's okay, darling, truly," I choked out, patting her back. "It was just a big misunderstanding. A very big one, it seems." I managed a wobbly smile, looking from one loving face to another. The sheer relief radiating from them was palpable, and it mirrored my own. David, ever the practical one, then led me further into the room. "Come on, Mom, everyone's here. We've got so many people who want to wish you a happy birthday." He gestured towards the crowd, and I saw faces I hadn't seen in months, even years. My bridge club friends, former colleagues, neighbors from my old cul-de-sac, and yes, even Aunt Carol, who was now making her way through the throng, her arms open wide. The rest of the evening unfolded like a beautiful dream. I was enveloped in hugs and well wishes, the air thick with genuine affection. Every hand I shook, every cheek I kissed, every heartfelt, "Happy birthday, Margaret," was a testament to the fact that I was indeed loved, cherished, and far from forgotten. My initial heartbreak transformed into an overwhelming wave of gratitude. We cut the cake, a magnificent two-tiered creation decorated with fresh berries and delicate frosting, with "Happy Birthday, Grandma Margaret," written in elegant script. I made a wish, surrounded by the bright glow of 68 candles, and felt a surge of pure joy as everyone sang for me. The flash of cameras, the happy chatter, the clinking of glasses. It was everything I had wanted and so much more. Emily, my sweet Emily, stayed close to my side for much of the evening, her hand often finding mine, a silent acknowledgement of the near-miss disaster. "I'm so glad I came to get you, Grandma," she whispered at one point, her eyes full of warmth. "Me too, my dear," I replied, squeezing her hand. "You saved the day, truly." Later, as the party began to wind down and guests started to depart, my family gathered around me once more. David and Susan recounted the frantic hours leading up to Emily's arrival, how they had been calling and texting, growing increasingly worried when I didn't respond. They even admitted they had briefly considered sending someone to my house, thinking something might have happened to me. The thought of their concern, their frantic efforts to reach me, only deepened my understanding and appreciation. "We just thought you were playing along with the surprise, Mom," Susan confessed, a rueful smile on her face. That you were just being extra good about pretending not to know. I was just so excited for our dinner, I explained, a small laugh escaping me. And I rarely check those group texts, they get so busy. And my email. Well, that's mostly for bills these days. We all laughed, a collective understanding passing between us. It was such a simple, yet profound miscommunication. As we finally gathered our belongings and prepared to leave the Oregon hearth, the last of the balloons bobbing gently in the ambient air, I felt a lightness I hadn't felt in years. The earlier despair, the crushing sense of abandonment, now felt like a distant, almost surreal nightmare. It was a stark reminder of how easily misunderstandings can fester, how quickly assumptions can lead to pain. But it was also a beautiful testament to the resilience of family bonds, to the power of love, and to the healing balm of clear communication. We drove home together, a comfortable silence interspersed with quiet chatter about the party. Emily snuggled into my side in the back seat, her head resting on my shoulder. I reached up and gently stroked her hair. My heart swelled with love for this bright, thoughtful young woman who had, in a way, rescued me. Arriving back at my house, we stood for a moment on the porch, bathed in the soft glow of the streetlights. "I'm so glad we got to celebrate, Mom," David said, pulling me into one last hug. "Me too, sweetie," I replied, tears welling up again, but these were happy tears, tears of immense gratitude. "Thank you, all of you. It was the best birthday I've ever had." And it truly was. It was a birthday that started with tears of loneliness but ended with a profound affirmation of love, connection, and the invaluable lesson that sometimes, all it takes is a little clear conversation to turn sorrow into joy. My family, flawed and perfectly human, was always there, loving me unconditionally, even when wires got crossed. And in that realization, my heart felt truly full. Family bonds truly flourish when communication is clear and open, allowing love, patience, and heartfelt conversations to mend any misunderstandings and draw everyone closer together.